Okay, fine.
Discuss over this and come back just.
Rolling.
Okay. One second. जी जैन सर.
जैसा मैं आपसे कह रहा था कि अब जैसे
Can you begin?
Rolling.
जी आप कह रहे थे.
इतिहास अपने आप में कैसे पलटता है. अब आप देखें कि ये खिड़की यहाँ नहीं थी, यहाँ पर कोई खिड़की दरवाज़ा था ही नहीं, लेकिन हम गुजरात से कुछ काफ़ी सारा सामान लेकर आए. वहाँ से जो खिड़की के दरवाजे पुराने टूटे हुए मकानों से निकल रहे थे. अब इस खिड़की को हमने जब यहाँ पर लगाया तो इसमें अब देखिए ये पुराना है तो ये नया है, उसके साथ मिलाकर इसको ठीक किया है. अब ये पुराना है, ये नया है. इस तरह से इसमें पीतल का ये एक था, बाकी नहीं था, हमने और नए लगा दिए. तो इस तरह से इस सारी चीज़ को हमने मिला के इसका पुनर्निर्माण करके इसको एक नया जीवन दे दिया. तो ये लकड़ी जहाँ जलती है उससे जलने से बच गई, या कट जाती थी, जल जाती थी. इसी तरह से सारे इसके अंदर जितना भी चीज़ें हमने लगाई हैं वो इसी तरह से उसको यहीं के कारीगरों से बनवा कर लगाया है.
Beautiful. Stand by. Mr. Jain, tell us.
Look, history repeats itself. As if you will see that this window was not there.
Cut. Mr. Jain, tell us how you went about this.
Look, for example, this window was not here.
Sorry, cut.
Go.
Mr. Jain.
History repeats itself. This window was not here. In fact, in the entire palace there was no door and window. Everything was taken away and used as firewood perhaps. But we picked up the pieces from everywhere in the country. Like we picked up from Gujarat. But it was in 6 pieces, that it was not in this condition as you see now. For example, this piece is old, but this is new. This also is new, but this is old. These were only one of them, and rest of them we have made here. And like that, gradually, every situation, every room, all the interiors, all the exteriors of this place have been tried. We have tried to keep them as intact as possible without, say, compromising on its character. But we have very imaginatively and with the help of the local artisans and carpenters, we have done the entire restoration work.
Beautiful. Very nice.
Rolling. Sorry.
Francis, give us your view of restoration in India with particular reference to the Neemrana project.
Where we had done a very interesting project in Shekhawati. We worked, Aman and I, on the old Havelis of Shekhawati, which were abandoned at the turn of the century by their owners. And this gave us the idea that it could be carried on a larger scale, because these houses are extraordinary. They have these fabulous frescoes. I think now they've been largely publicized. But we thought that since the owners of these Havelis were not really interested in doing anything about their ancestral homes, we should take up the many places in India which are lying around, unattended, and do something. So we came across Neemrana, which had been abandoned for 50 years. And it's, of course, not a monument of national importance. What is of national importance is looked after by the archaeological survey. But we thought that this was something extraordinary, it was close to Delhi, etc. So we took it up as a project. What is interesting is that in India, I feel as a foreigner originally, I feel that there is no sense of restoring the past in India. You always build anew, which is extraordinary because India has been a nation of builders, and this is why you have so many temples and so many monuments all over the place. But at the same time, it's sad that you abandon your heritage to build anew in the name of your wife or your family, or etc. So we took it up as a challenge and to show, and I think to start a movement, which was a movement of restoring things of the past.
Okay. Roll. Francis, you were saying?
No, the amazing thing is that in India there is no tradition of...
Know the amazing.
Yeah.
Action.
The amazing thing is that in India there is no tradition of restoring the past. You build in the memory of your family, in the name of your mother, your father, etc. But you never restore the past, which is, I think, fantastic because this is why, India is a nation of builders. This is why it's so full of temples, of monuments, of bowries, of water reservoirs, and what have you. But at the same time, it's a pity because then you abandoned an extraordinary wealth of monuments and you let them, sort of fall into ruins. I felt as a Western person, coming to India and settling down in India, that this was something that had to be tackled at some stage. And particularly having been through the exercise in Shekhawati, in that area of Rajasthan where there are the most extraordinary havelis covered with frescoes, absolutely intricate work of masonry, which were abandoned by their owners, little after the turn of the century. So having gone through the exercise, having tried very hard to convince the people that they should do something about them, and practically to no avail, one decided to go on one's own project. And that's how we started Neemrana, as proof that this could be undertaken and as a sort of movement that one wants to start to show that restoration can be undertaken privately and that we don't need the Archaeological Survey of India. Archaeological Survey of India does excellent work, but they're quite busy with things which date back to the 7th century. At the time when in Europe one was building in straw or in wood, India was building the most extraordinary temples. So this is of national importance and has to be taken by the government. But there is room for private entrepreneurship in the country.
Okay. Francis, how do you see a project as unconventional as this one and of this magnitude working out to be commercially viable?
Having started, with this restoration, one had to think of practical ways of, earning one's living, or I would say rather earning the money to plow it back into the project in order to complete it. So initially we were not very clear. We talked about museum, we talked about cultural center, but those were all ideas. When it came down to actually paying for the masons and the carpenters and the plumbers and etc., we realized that we had to go commercial, and we decided to convert this into a hotel, but a hotel with a difference. We didn't want it to be the traditional hotel from belonging to a chain. We wanted to have it in a different pattern altogether. So we started having guests and running it as sort of more like an extension of a house or a guest house. But I would say that we've been quite successful commercially because in the second year of operation, we're able to generate profits, which are, of course, not taken out of the project, but reinvested to complete the restoration of the fort. I think it can be extremely viable when and on top of that, you employ local people. You don't take people who are trained by an institute, but you employ local people. We give employment to about 70 people in the village. About 35 people to run the hotel and 35 to complete the restoration, which is going to go on, which has been going on for about 4 years and will go on for another 4 or 5 years. So I think it's both commercially viable and also a way to pay back to society what you've got out of it.
Okay, fine. One more.
Yeah.
Francis, you also have the job of promoting this place and creating it in such a way that it attracts an international and national visitors ship, as it were. To your mind, what is so different and unique and special about this place for a visitor?
This place doesn't really look like a hotel. Yeah.
Can you begin with Neemrana?
Yeah.
You know the question. What would you say is different, unique, special about this place for the international and national visitor?
Neemrana is a hotel with a difference. In fact, very recently we had a group of French tourists who came and they said, "Where is the royal welcome?" And we said there is no royal welcome. What the royal welcome is the beauty of nature, the beauty of an old fort. It's not, to have a tilak put on your head or a garland around your neck. This is all put on, What we want is a genuine look at India. And you can't hide. You see, as a foreigner, what I say is that you can't hide India. India is there in all its beauty, but in all its squalor and poverty and all that. But you have to make a plus of a minus, So, and the foreign visitor, I wouldn't like to call them tourists, or the foreign traveler, rather, wants this kind of approach to India. Doesn't want necessarily all the glamour or the elephants, etc. There's room for another kind of traveler. We are trying to cater to that other traveler, the one who's more concerned by by nature, by the beauty of a palace, of an old fort, and by the work of restoration. It's amazing to see that there's a lot of people who say, we would like to contribute to the restoration. Is there a box somewhere where we can drop a few coins to help you do it? And this is in fact what we're interested in projecting. The fort of Neemrana was built. Sorry, let's start again.
Yeah.
The Fort Palace of Neemrana was built in 1464. So it's actually the oldest place in India where you can pay and stay as a guest. So that's, I think, is very attractive to people, to people, and particularly to foreigners. In fact, the Americans are all gaga over it because they've never seen a place where you can actually stay with bathrooms, with a comfortable room, with food, where we put the emphasis on food. That may be my French origin, that we're all very interested in food in France, as you know. And we have each room, for instance, is on a theme which is different. We've tried to recreate the ambience of the past. We've tried also to use the name of the room, of the use of the room. So, for instance, where the dowry was kept is called Dahej Mahal, where the armory was kept is called Sile Khana. We've tried to revive the way the system was working in the olden days. And I think that's a plus point for an old property like Neemrana.
Okay, fine. Got it? Okay, Aman, tell us.
Many parts of the Neemrana Fort Palace were in this condition. The place where we are now standing is actually between two ramparts. They extended the fort at some point, perhaps in the 18th century, and then filled up rubble because they didn't need to use this place for what original function it performed. And now, rather than just leave it as wasted space, what we are going to do is we're digging further and creating a two-storied building, one as a modern laundry and one as a modern kitchen, because the services are wanted. And on top of it, we'll have a terrace done with a lime roof, and you won't even know that we've got 2 floors under it. That.
Okay, Aman, tell us.
Many parts of the Neemrana Fort Palace were in this state of ruin, and the place where we are now standing is actually between two ramparts. In the 18th century, they extended this, when they extended the whole palace, and then filled it up with rubble. Now we're digging through all this and creating 2 floors, which will be used as a service area, one for laundry and one for kitchen. And nobody will get to know what is passing under that, because we'll do a sort of medieval looking roof with a view, and you'll sit and have tea on it. We need to create many spaces like that so that all the gaps are filled up.
Cut. Nice. Same thing in Hindi. Prashant?
जब हम यहाँ पहले आए, नीमराना महल के अलग अलग कोने में सब जगह खंडर थे, इस खंडर जैसे। और यहाँ पर ये दो दीवारों के बीच में हम लोग कमरे बनाएंगे, जिसमें एक में रसोई होगी, एक में कपड़े धोने की जगह।
Same thing.
नीमरा
Rolling.
नीमराना महल के अन्य कोनों में भी ऐसे खंडर थे।
Once again, little cleaner, okay?
I don't know how to say it. Please make. जब हम यहाँ
Yeah.
Rolling.
Yep.
जी.
जब हम यहाँ पहले आए थे, इस नीमराना महल में सब जगह खंडर ही खंडर थे। ये खंडर दो दीवारों के बीच है, जहाँ पर हम एक इमारत बनाना चाहते हैं जिसमें 2 मंजिलें होंगी, एक में रसोई और एक में धोबी घाट। मगर जब हम ऊपर से उस छत को ढक देंगे और लोग बैठकर चाय पियेंगे, किसी को मालूम नहीं होगा कि इसके नीचे हमने नई इमारत बनाई है, जिसकी हमको अब होटल के लिए ज़रूरत है।
Action. Talk to Aman and find out what.
पॉलिश भी करते हैं, उसको देखना चाहिए कि ऊपर सीटे का दो बार रंग करना पड़ेगा। अपनी तरफ
Action.
ये पत्थर पर भी थोड़ा कड़ा करके देखेंगे।
Good. Sorry. Once again, you can be discussing. Rolling. Action.
ये कड़ा कर रहे हैं, ये पत्थर पर भी कर रहे हैं। हाँ, करके दिखाएंगे।
और कुछ नहीं था, और कुछ नहीं।
और ये दीवार और इसका जो कड़ा है बाद में एक जैसा हो जाएगा, बालाइश दोनों पर।
कीजिए।
वो आएगा नहीं मतलब ग्लास यहाँ रखेंगे वहाँ रखेंगे लेके तो
चौकोर बनाएंगे।
चौकोर बनाएंगे ऐसे करके जितना हल्की बन जाए उतना अच्छा है। यहाँ पर जब इसको ऐसे बंद करते हैं तो ऐसे बंद करते हैं